Hey everybody, welcome back to Chop It Up TV. It's your host, Uncle Freezie here to do another video. This topic is kind of funny, kind of ironic, but serious at the same time. So I want to talk to y'all today about outrunning your past. Should the things you've done in the past be a representative of who you are right now? We all know that you can't change the past. You can't rewrite history. It's just not how time and life goes. But I find as somebody who's done things in the past that's kind of embarrassing to myself and family, outrunning the past is not a very easy endeavor. It may not even be something that you should do. And I say that based on the premise of looking back at things, the person I am right now, I think trying to outrun your past is not something that you should do. I think it's one of those deals where you should own up to who you are as a person. Everything that you've done in your life is a part of who you are as a person. So where you are right now compared to where you were when you embarrassed yourself by doing any number of things, such as being a bad employee when you're young, being in bad relationships or numerous bad relationships, or having the label of being promiscuous, say back in the day, or having the label of maybe, doing drugs or something and doing something to embarrass yourself. Are those things that we've done and hopefully overcome as we mature as people? But it still begs the question, can you outrun your past? And I ask this question because so I network with a lot of people, and network is a very political term to say that I'm around a lot of people and know a lot of people. And not to say that that's necessarily a good thing. It's just what it is. What it is. If you know a lot of people, you know a lot of people. If you're in a lot of different circles, you're in a lot of circles. But some of the people that I've seen, or let me put it this way: some of the people that I'm in circles with now don't know the person that I was before. They see an Army veteran, college guy, good dad, good husband, try to be a good brother to my sister. They see who Uncle Freezie is right now. They don't know, about the things that happened in the past. Now, with that said, there are people from the past that I probably used to frequent with, be around a lot back, say 30 years ago. They know Uncle Freezie is a totally different person. They know, they help me put the skeletons in the closet, so to speak. They help me, with doing the things that I'm trying to outrun now. So when they see me 30 years later, they're like, hey man, I remember when you used to date such and such, and such and such, and such and such. And you're like, oh man, why are you gonna bring that up right here in front of my kids? Or man, why you gonna say that in front of the pastor? Pastor always be trying to get people right anyway. Why you gonna say that in front of my mom? You know what I'm saying? And so their rhetoric or answer to that is, man, you did it. You got to own it. That's who you were. That's back in the day. They can't judge you off that. But the thing is, they can judge you off that. People do tend to judge you off the most exciting, impactful things that you've done. And they tend to kind of, judge you on a lot of things that you maybe regret and not give credence to the things that you're proud of, and I know things that happened in your past. If you've overcome them, it should be water under the bridge. but for some of us, that's a really big bridge and that's a lot of water. So it's one of those, I circle back to say, can you outrun your past? Is it worth it? Do you want people to know those things that you've done and that you've used those things that you've done in the past to learn about who you want to be as a person and help guide you in the direction that you want to go. So just a little background about me without getting too much into the past. So I didn't grow up with a lot of role models that were interested in doing the right thing. I laugh now on it about it because, a lot of people that I looked up to were doing a lot of amoral things. Like, it was cool to have, such and such girl showing up to the cookout with, excuse me, with a chick that's bad and a brand new whip, some money in your pocket, some nice shoes on, nice suit, all that stuff, talking real slick, things like that. That was popular. That was fun, back in the 70s and 80s when I was a shorty looking up to men and such. And there's nothing wrong with having bad chicks, new cars, new houses, pocket fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But now that I look back on it, it's something wrong with having 7 or 8 bad chicks at one time. You know what I'm saying? The money in your pocket come from illegal stuff. You know what I mean? So there was not, when I look back on it, I'm not as impressed because I'm an adult now and look back on it and, kind of wish that, I had more guidance on it. And at the same time, the people that were doing those things, I've talked to them over the years and they regret that too. And they kind of wish, there was a way that they can outrun their past. So it's like, circling back to this, this thing like, do you want to be known as the person that you were 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and some of us have lived quality lives and just made one big mistake, or mistake to them, which we might consider life. Like with me, like you get pregnant from a guy that's a guy that was just passing through your life, and you have a wonderful baby, and the baby's, you raise the baby the best as you can, without the help from that guy. That's not, something that you want to outrun. It's, it's life. Something happened, as opposed to letting it be a hindrance to you and the baby going forward. You chose to, own it. Basically, not the baby, of course, but I'm talking about the situation. I chose to own the situation and, and made the best of it for you and the kid. It's one of those things. It happens, what I'm more concerned with is, our reputations. Like some of us may have done some shady things and, back then, and wish now that we look back on it, we wish we hadn't, or some of us were really promiscuous, 20 years ago. Now, when you see the people that were in that circle and they see you now, they still think you promiscuous, even though you're not. But a reputation is what it is, especially for women. I don't know. I don't know how fair it is for women. Women can do one thing that may not be right, and they'll be labeled for the rest of their lives. And then a man can do the same thing. I mean, whatever it is, drugs, sex, whatever. A man can do the same thing and not be judged as harshly. They'd be like, man, he all right, man. He just trying to, such and such. And, in my circles, it's one of those things. If you're promiscuous, that was a good thing. People are like, yeah, he was such and such girl. He's such and such. He was such and such across town. She pretty. Such and such. She fine. Or they'd be like, Uncle Freezie, she bad. That chick bad, boss. That chick bad. It's one of those deals where it's like, is it worth trying to outrun? So my question to all of y'all, ladies and men, is it worth it to own up to your past? Like telling people, like telling your kids or your nieces and nephews, yeah, I was promiscuous back then. It was a mistake. Or I was trying to find myself, or I was in a bad mental place and I was being, abused or whatever. Or I was in search of, I was in search of love and couldn't find it, looking for some things, for love from the wrong people. It led me down this path, but I found myself. And now you're looking at somebody who's happy with the person that they've become over the years. You know, I have a lot of friends, and our conversation, the topic du jour is when we're together and we see somebody old school, like we see, and this happened to y'all. Don't judge Uncle Freezie. First of all, don't judge me. Y'all don't know me yet. You will, but don't judge me. So when I'm hanging out with people that I've known for, say, 25, 30 years, and we come across somebody that we hadn't seen in a long time, the first thing they think is that you're the same person that you were when they last saw you. It's not necessarily fair, but it's one of those things. It's easy to do that. It's easy to do that. It's easy to assume that a person that you hadn't seen in a long time is the same person that they were when you last saw them. I mean, it's lazy, I know, but I mean, I do it too. Like at a class reunion, I'll see somebody and I remember something from the 11th grade, and I'm thinking like that's the same person from 11th grade. How unfair is that, man? I'm 47. I'm 47, right? So it's like that somebody did something 30 years ago because they were young and dumb, and somebody young and dumb advised them to do something young and dumb, and they did it. And then here we are 30 years later, and I'm still judging them on what they did when they were young and dumb. It's one of those things that happens. Things are what they are with it. It's not fair. Should you own it? Should you be like, yeah, I was in 11th grade, man, I ain't know nothing. I was dumb as hell. I did it. I did it, man. I regret it. And, I just moved on from it. But you know what, though? Some people can't let it go. There are some people in our lives, when they see Uncle Freezie, they still assume, I'm 20 years old and want to still do the same things that I did that I was 20. Man, I'm not 20 years old no more, man. That's a long time ago. I did some things then that I wouldn't do, that I didn't even do 5 years later, that I stopped doing when I was 25. Especially 30. Now that I'm older, I look back on it and I'm like, man, maybe I shouldn't have did that. But then at the same time, it's one of those things that, I tried it. I liked it for a little bit, lost the passion for it, and stopped doing it. It's one of those things like, and I'm trying to, not saying, and listen, I'm not a druggie or anything like that, or never was, but there are some people out there that may have done some things, that they regret, like maybe tried drugs and had had some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not addiction, but had some type of passion for doing that thing. They got older, they grew out of it. And then now when people see them at your Walmart or your grocery store or whatever, like, yeah, man, I remember you used to smoke all the weed in South Carolina. It was like, I remember you used to snort all the blow in DC. Boy, they couldn't keep blowing DC because of you. And then now 30 years later, you're like, oh man, that's not who I am as a person no more. I did some things, and I'm just using this as an example now. Don't judge me. I'm just saying this is an example. Don't go on Twitter talking about Uncle Free said he snorted up all the blow in DC. I'm just using this as an example. But yeah, you see those people like, man, that's in my past. I don't do stuff like that no more, man. Either I'm in church, I'm doing stuff in the community. I'm helping old people. Not old people. I'm helping the elderly. I'm helping kids. And you out here talking about what I used to do back in the 80s or 70s or whatever. I'd be interested to see what y'all think about that. And when you go back to your college campuses, say 30 years later, say after you graduated, and you see some of your old roommates and people you used to kick it with in college, you go back for some type of alumni thing, and they're like, yeah, man, you the dude that drunk up all the beer, man. You drunk up all the liquor. You the one that fell off the rail and almost broke your neck, And 30 years later, you like, man, yeah, when you're a college kid, you might, be tempted to do a lot of stuff, but that's not who I am anymore. But the thing about it, though, is you just can't outrun it. Like, you can't rewrite the past. That's my take on it. Can you outrun, can you outrun your past? So another question is your reputation excuse me, is your reputation closely or a true representative of who you are as a person right now? I would say your reputation is based on what circles um, what circles that you frequent the most. And the reason why I say that is because somebody said something a long time ago, said something crazy. It blew my mind when they said it. They were basically said, the part that you feed is the part that grows. You know, so it's like, well, if I'm a changed person and I used to do a certain thing, but now I'm building my new reputation on doing good things for the community, trying to be a good person, trying to be responsible and ethical, trying to make good moral decisions, and things like that. It's one of those deals where it's like, I'll tell you something about me. So I used to fight a lot for some reason. When I was young, I used to fight a lot. I used to have what they call a greasy mouth. I used to talk greasy in every situation because I didn't know, I didn't. So the reason being is because my parents were in a bad relationship with each other and they were young, and my father had some alcohol issues he was dealing with, and I hate to say that in a public forum to make him seem like a bad guy, because he was not a bad guy. He was actually a pretty good guy, didn't communicate the best, but deep down inside, I think he was a really, really good man. Just had some problems, just like the rest of us have and face. But anyway, so their relationship was sour, and we were in a sour environment sometimes. So it made me have this built up anger on the inside, where as soon as I stepped out the door, I was trying to, vent or whatever, not knowing at the time that I had like emotional and probably some I don't want to say mental to make it seem like I was crazy, but definitely emotional issues, because I wanted my family back then, and listen, y'all, don't judge me again. Back then, I wanted my family to be like the Huxtables from the Cosby Show. Like, I wanted my mom to come home like Claire, and I wanted my pops to act like Heathcliff, like Cliff. I mean, I didn't know Bill Cosby was doping girls at the time. I'm just saying, in the moment, in the moment, I felt like, that's what I wanted my family to be. But as a kid, you don't know or understand how, seeing positive black images on TV, impacts your way of thinking. It's like, you want your family to ascend to that. But I was a kid. So the thing about that is my mother and father, as kids, they saw something different. So I don't know if they actually wanted their family to be like the Cosby Show, because they grew up in a different era. Right. And I said all of that to say that I had a lot of frustration and anger pent up, just because, there was a lot of things which I felt like was negative, made me act out and be negative. And there are kids in our society that are doing the same things. They go through the same issues. Like I can see them, like they have this pent up anger in them, because they want things to be a certain way, and these things are not, and they don't know how to handle it. And so, and that's a different topic for a different show. I'm just saying that I did a lot of things in my past I regret, because there was, underlying, situations or whatever, health issues, my physical health wasn't great. I had a lot of stuff going on, but anyway, so I did a lot of things, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, during those times where I was trying to find myself. I knew that I wanted to be a good person, right? Knew I wanted to be a good person, but my decision-making processes wasn't the greatest. Like, if somebody said something to me, I'd be quick to talk greasy to them and be disrespectful, as opposed to taking some things in stride and ignoring the negative stuff, or like putting myself in positive situations, things like that. And I was too young to understand that that's what I should have been doing. But So now when people ask me about that, they be like, for instance, family member talked to me at a function. It was actually at my brother's funeral. You know, rest in peace, Byron. Looking down on us, probably laughing at me doing these dumb videos. Hey man, it's my way to vent, whatever. So family members say, yeah man, I remember you used to fight, drop or die. People used to be so scared we couldn't take you nowhere. and my kids are looking at them like, who, him? Hell, he, Mr. Softy, he ain't gonna do nothing. You know, but they don't know that over the years, you know, I kind of tried to transform myself into somebody that's, you know, a productive, you know, citizen or whatever. And I fought with a lot of stuff. You know, personally, like just on the cusp of alcohol addiction. Like I used to drink a lot, but I could always compartmentalize. And so I used to tell myself, man, I ain't an alcoholic, man. I'm good. I can drink when I want, stop when I want. But what I didn't know is that's exactly, you know, what contributes to alcoholism. You know, what it contributes to dependency, chemical dependency and stuff, is the feeling that you can beat stuff. You know, you can do it anytime you want. And I can stop drinking anytime I want. But anyways, you know, can you outrun your past or should you own it? I am 50-50 because I feel like the more you distance yourself from the bad things you used to do, the more you can build on the positive things in your life, like relationship building, being a good person in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like we're in relationships with some people, and we're just like the anchor in that relationship. We just drag it down because we don't invest in it. You know, we don't feed that relationship with positive vibes and such. You know, and the other part to that is should I own my past? You know, should I own it? Like, should I own up to all the things that I used to do? Right? Does that reinforce who I am? Like when I think back on it, if I own it, does that mean I'm really that person that did all that stuff? You know, did I try it just because it was something to try, or just did I do it because that's who I am as a person? So that's the dangerous part of the conversation. The dangerous part of the conversation is, did you do those things? Were you promiscuous because you're promiscuous as a person? Something to think about, right? Did you drink all that liquor because you're just a liquor drinker and you drink to hide other stuff in your life? You know, when you think about when you hear yourself say it, it really makes you think about, you know, who you are as a person. Like, man, was I really, you know, that person running from issues? Did I really drink to have was I a social drinker, or did I drink to hide or to mask those things that happened in my life when I was younger? You know what I mean? It was drinking a coping mechanism for me. And if it was, did I ever get over those issues that made me find some type of chemical dependency to cope with certain issues? Am I still dealing with those issues today? You know, so I ask that to ask you, you know, can you outrun your past? Is your past a part of who you are, or should you embrace the future? Should you divide that time and say, you know, embrace who you are and embrace the future? I'm not one that says you should do both. I feel like you should embrace one and move forward. I ask you the question because I don't know which one to choose. You know, should I embrace who I was back then and then work on the issues that forced me to make those decisions when I was young? Or should I totally embrace the future? You know, my life, you know, becoming an old man, you know, looking to be a granddad, being a good son, being a good co-worker, being a good husband, being a good brother, being a good, you know, member of society, you know, so all that stuff going forward. It's a tough endeavor because sometimes you get reminded of the person that you were 30 years ago, 20 years, for young people that watch this and say, man, I'm not, at 30 years ago, I wasn't even born. For y'all, the time scale is different. Say you're 20 years old and you're looking back to the time that you were like 15. Are you the same person you were when you were 15 years old? And I know you're like, man, no, that's a lifetime ago. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That the time scale is different. Like if you think it's a lifetime ago for somebody that's 20, looking back to when they're 15, it's the same type of time scale when you're almost 50, looking back at stuff that you used to do when you were almost 20. Tell me what you think. I'm gonna be posting more videos like this one. Subscribe to the channel, like, share it with others. Give the show, any type of topics or ideas. Definitely have more to come. Working on having guests for the channel. They are super excited to come on and share their knowledge with you. Again, this is Uncle Freezie. I'm glad I had this time to